Hey, Dustin Tibbetts here, financial advisor with Jazz Wealth Managers. Hope you'll check us out at jazzwealth.com. If you're going to start, consider, or talk your children or whoever into starting a Roth IRA, I've got 4 things that I want you to know before you do that, and I'm going to try to teach you a little bit here as well. The first thing is for the kids, and really for a lot of you as well, depending on what else you have invested. So no matter how old you are or how new you are to starting, growth, right? A Roth IRA is not taxed. Well, as of now, there's no law that says we're going to tax it. So wouldn't we want the most amount of growth in the account that could never be taxed again? Yes, of course. So in your 401ks, your TSP, 457, traditional IRA, things like that, we could be more strategic. But in the Roth IRA, pedal to the metal, we want growth. I can't tell you legally, but if you're working with us, we're going to make sure that happens, right? There has to be really unique scenarios where we would say, no, that's just not something you're going to do. So real quick, you know how people do the bucket strategy thing? I won't do all the buckets here for you, but we fill up some money here so that maybe in years 1 through 4, you're covered, in years 5 through 10 or something, and then 10 plus in retirement, we've got the money, right? And so people like to see the buckets like this. Most of you, this bucket right here is where Roth withdrawals will come into play. They're not going to come into play here unless you've inherited maybe some of it. They're not going to come into play here usually. They're going to come into play here when we've depleted all these buckets and they're gone. Now we're going to start touching post-tax money. Not all the time, but I should say that is a pretty standard strategy there. So imagine if you retire at 65, 70, now going on 75, oh my God, we're talking about so far down the road that you would need to withdraw that Roth money. We can be aggressive, okay? So that's tip number 1. Tip number 2 is know your year's income, okay? This is more for everybody here. Your adjusted gross income, it's actually called modified adjusted gross income, but let's say your adjusted gross income, remember on your tax form, that's before the standard deduction, right? A lot of people mess that up. They say, well, my adjusted gross income was 235, Dustin. Modified adjusted gross income, let's say, is 235. But then after the standard deduction, I'm well within, a reasonable range to contribute to the Roth. Nope. Up here, that's that number, right? So we want to know your current year's income, and at this point, what your expected next year's income is going to be. We know that W-2 earners will pay tax at some point. What we're trying to figure out is which dollar should go in the Roth and which dollar maybe should just go in a taxable account, right? People are always shocked when I'm like, they say, should I use a Roth or an IRA? And I'm like, actually, you should use a little bit of Roth here, and I can prove it to you. You should use a brokerage account for the rest, right? So we want to know that income. We want to choose, in simple terms here, we want to choose the lowest tax bracket year to contribute to the Roth. If you've taken time off, if you've had a baby, things like that. All right, tip number 3 is kind of one that's messed up a little bit here. People think that once you make over $228,000, that you can no longer contribute to a Roth. That's technically true. However, the range, it's a range. It starts at $218,000. So as that income for you and your family, if you're married filing jointly, as it starts going up to $218,000, you now can still contribute to the Roth, but your number's a little bit smaller. Now, instead of being $6,500 for 2023, it's $6,080, right? As you go into 220 and 221, 2, 3, 4, the number just gets reduced and reduced. So it's called a phase out. Really important that you know that because the IRS has that hard-coded in their system. So when you go file your taxes and it says, how much did you contribute to a Roth? If you put $1 more than you were supposed to put in there, they're going to find out, okay? So careful there. And the final thing is, the tip number 4, we want to know or have a really good idea of the spread between your current income and what you expect to use this money for in the future, which in other words is saying a difference between your current income and your retirement income. There will be a spread. It could be inverted, but there will be a spread. So for example, you make $150,000 now, for example, but you are going to live on $50,000 a month. there's a spread, or 50,000 a year, sorry. Jeez. So there's a spread of $100,000, okay? Well, when that spread gets really wide, the Roth starts to make less and less sense. Has nothing to do with your current income. Well, I mean, your current income we're talking about has nothing to do with like, oh my God, how am I investing? Should I use it? Should I not use it? No, it has everything to do with your expectations in the future versus your income now. The wider the spread, I always jokingly say about a 50% spread there. If it becomes 50%, we at least need to look at it, okay? If the spread between your income now and what you would like to have in retirement is small, let's say you make $100,000 and you'd like to live on 95, all right, less math to play there. But if it's 150 and 50, something like that, we need to look at that, right? Make sure that that is the right direction for you to go. So tip number one, growth. Think growth all the time. In your Roth IRA, we have to prove that that should not be the case, okay? Start with that, and then if you're working with us or any advisor, make them prove that that's not the case. Tip number two, know each year's income. Right? Very important. You're going to pay the tax at some point. Know your income. Tip number three is modified adjusted gross income, 228. Yes, that's a number to know, but really 218 is the magic number you want to start looking at. And tip number four, let's look at the spread between your current income and your retirement expectations or income. All right. Hope that helps. Hope you check us out at jazzwealth.com. And if you have any questions, you know where to find us. Feel free to join us. Join us for our closing beat show live at 5 every day. And subscribe, all that stuff I'm supposed to ask you. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks for watching. If you want to learn more about Jazz Wealth and how we can help as fiduciary advisors, go to jazzwealth.com. If you want more educational content, be sure to check out our videos here.